Herpetologist.
Now, I suppose you want to know about Richard Wells. Well, let me tell you something about this young man. He worked for me for quite a while, actually, as a zookeeper here at Notre Dame. I must say that we always called him here the mad professor. But let's not fool ourselves. Richard is a very, very knowledgeable person with particularly reptiles.
Oh, look at that. His nose is all scarred. Rats do that. While they're asleep under rocks and logs at night, rats chew on the front of their head and also their toes and their tails if they get the chance, but very often the blue tongues lose the front of the snout to the predatory activity of rats.
I've heard Richard referred to as the messiah of the taxonomic anarchists.
Richard Wells worked for us, preparing medical museum specimens during his stay with us, and during that time we named him the Snake Man.
This is a diamond snake, or a diamond python as it's also known as. That's a little female. It's about half grown. Just looking at them in the sun it's like looking into Ali Baba's cave. It's just like a jewel on the rocks. Over here we've got literature on the mammals and the birds and fishes, mainly the major groups of vertebrates. Over the back, slightly down...
he has got a mania of collecting books. And so much so that he got his mother out of her own bedroom to fill it up with books so that she slept on top of the books. Now, if you have seen Richard's home, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Not only his mother's room is full of books, his own bedroom is full of books, he sleeps on top of books, his hallway is full of books, everywhere in the house is full of books, he's hired a couple of sheds which is full of books. I think that gentleman would have over 2 million books.
Agricultural research that concerns vertebrates, biochemistry, zoological sciences, all of the publications generally relate to wildlife, or biology in general, but wildlife in particular, as far as Australia is concerned. There are a number of books on biochemistry here, which are kept handy, sort of.
It's got some library now, hasn't it?
In the area of medical research for the same reason.
Well, I'd hate to tell you what I thought of it at first when you had so many books everywhere. Yeah. You couldn't move for them. But then you get used to them after a while. When you have no room left to wander around in, probably a bit, you don't have to do the work, do you?
Listen.
Hey.
The snake had killed the family's pet cat. All right. Mrs. Gregory was hiding the cat's body away from her 2 children when she felt the snake squirm beneath her feet. Then a neighbour came in and killed the snake with a hoe. Happy ending.
When they visit you?
Oh, hardly anyone ever visits nowadays, but...
Nobody thinks you're a bit, how should I put it, strange for
No, not really.
having all those books?
Well, the way, look, have you ever tried to buy pink bats lately?
What, insulation bats?
Yeah. You know how much they cost? Books are much cheaper than pink bats. You know,
What?
coal that gets in the Blue Mountains?
Does that mean you have books up in the attic, does it?
I will try to put them in the roof, but the bloody ceiling caved in the last house I was in, so you can't put them up in the roof.
Right.
But this one's okay because I've got a lot of room downstairs.
Richard's one of 2,000 Scorpios that are being researched by an astrologer, and they're all classed as men and women of destiny because of the time they were born and the projects and the activities they're involved in. Found the ones you were looking for, Richard?
Yeah. Thank you. There's 6 of them. Any more?
Yeah, here's the last two.
Beauty. Oh, this is the master bedroom. Where the master bedroom is, I usually carry out my reading at night. I sleep about 4 hours a night, on average, I suppose. It just depends on how much disturbance you get when you're working. You become very lazy when you sleep long hours, like 8 hours or so. I really like green shirts, army shirts, ex-army shirts, whatever, but generally green. I like green. I used to have wardrobes, but I filled them up with books, and the books broke them. The doors fell off the hinges, so I threw them away. But I keep most of my clothes in cardboard boxes anyway because it's an easier way of stacking them. And, well, they're actually all over the place. They're laying on the floor. They're in the filing cabinet. I've got a couple in cupboards upstairs. I usually eat breakfast next to the lizard cage there, which is convenient because I can also watch what he's doing at the same time. And the fridge is over there behind all the boxes. I keep my rare books in the fridge. Well, as I'm searching, I try to become part of the area that I'm in, using a sort of a sixth sense, if you like, and another sense, I don't know what number you'd call it, but a sense where you're on automatic. You're searching at a level where you're not just seeing or hearing the features around you in the area, you're actually moving through, and in a sense I'm subconsciously targeting another organism. And I go into a sort of predator mode where I zero in on the area where something is, and I then concentrate my efforts there, and I know I will find it. This is Pantherosaurus keringai. It's a goanna found only around Sydney as far as I'm concerned.
You little dog.
It's an intelligent lizard, like most goannas. You see the intelligence in its eyes. It's a very alert animal. We named it after, in effect, the Keringai Aboriginal tribe that once inhabited the principal area of its range. It's nowadays very rare. Over the years, I've had about 90 different jobs, I think. I tried to have 100 by the time I was 30, but I got to 30 before I got to 100 jobs, which was a bit of a disappointment, but, you know. Anyway, I only really work to get books. Why bother working just for money? Just for itself, you know? Just accumulate money. I spend about, average, I'd say, $10 a week on food. I eat very little, and I have no need to eat a lot. And that gives me maximum buying power for books.
Oh, Richard.
Don't worry, don't worry. More to come, more to come. That's it.
Oh, that's a bit of light reading there.
Most women tend to think that, you know, one-off type of thing when the University of New South Wales Book Fair is on. It's a great opportunity to buy books, and you've just got to be able to make those sacrifices if the volumes come available. You don't know what pleasure it is to come home to a house full of books. It has no equal in human existence to walk in and actually just smell a whole library in your house. It's like having the history of the world at your fingertips. My wife, the XB2 will come across now. I'm going to publish a catalogue of all of the animal life on the Earth, and I've started with reptiles.
Basically, they've carried out an incredibly large-scale revision of the naming of reptiles and amphibians in Australia on a scale that no one has ever contemplated before. I think they have been very unethical. The conventional way to publish scientific results is to send them to a journal where they are reviewed by anonymous peer reviewers, other scientists, and quite often material is rejected. If it's not of high enough quality, then the reviewers recommend that it not be published. What Richard did, of course, was to set up his own journal and publish his own paper in it so that no one ever got a chance to review it.
Tantalus, which was pretty good, a mythological character symbolic of eternal torment. It was a very hard group to work on. Skincus josephinae, a striped skink. We named it Minerva skincus because it's the goddess of wisdom, and Josephinae because it was after my partner's wife, Josephine. We named a lot of animals after our ex-girlfriends and so on.
I have a great deal of respect for Richard. He's a very smart guy. He has fantastic expertise with the Australian reptile fauna. He has incredible energy and enthusiasm. Unfortunately, he's produced a really trashy piece of science with these couple of publications, and something needs to be done about them.
That was a hard group to work on, that one, Commissagogus. Commissagogus means that which stimulates Vader. We were going to say Lord Darth Vader, but it would have been a bit over the top. The darker side of science. A subtle warning, perhaps. They can't stop us from publishing. They were talking about banning our journal so that anyone had ever published in it would be wasting their time. I mean, banning a journal, what do they stop at? Well, they start next banning a newspaper because they don't like it. Very unusual for Australia, isn't it? What about banning individuals like us because we're amateurs? Well,
Richard has committed a very large part of his life and the kind of the person he is to the work he's done. Whether you belong to the professionals in the closed click sense or you're an outsider, you still want to be recognised by those people you look up to in your profession. And Richard wanted to be looked up to, I think, and I think it's been a terrible blow to him to be castigated by almost the entire professional herpetological community.
Well, here they're ridiculing me. It makes me think I must be right. That's what Thomas Huxley thought about the problems of the day. But I prefer to quote a bit of Henry Lawson. And he said, they're blind to what the bushman sees, the best with eyes shut tightest. Out where Australia's widest, where the stars are at their brightest. Not quite as eloquent, but that's as it was, and that's as it is. Which way's the snake?
I only sticking in. Go in.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's the cage he had us in.
Where's your hook?
I just open up there. Hook's up there on the cage,
When did you last eat?
Oh, about 3 weeks ago we had a feed. We had a small rat.
That's good.
Whereabouts do you find those snakes, Richard?
Oh, they used to be common around Sydney, but not too common nowadays.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
Oh, a lot of fires, burning off, clearing.
Yeah, what is it that makes these snakes different from the other type of snakes you get in Sydney? Now, why do they call them death adders?
Oh, that's just long-term problem people have had with identifying animals, but As far as I'm concerned, they're a fantastic snake. I mean, have a go at it. Look, Rob. Look at his head up close.
Yeah, he's not going to jump at me, is he?
No, not at all. Get closer. Here you
It's
go.
a beautiful looking colour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't get that
very
close.
nice, sort of coppery colour.
That's a red face. You get a grey face too.
And why is he flicking his tongue in out all the time?
I think he hates your guts, actually.
Does he?
No, he doesn't.
That's no good. I better keep my distance if that's the case.
A couple of things were showed to me by old snakies, the old snake men, but most of them had already died before I started collecting. Universities are not really places where you learn about animals. It's the bush. That's the real university.
$7.80, $14.80, 2KA.
The crocodile controversy has resurfaced. Colourful and controversial Bullaburra resident Will Silk has threatened to lead a demonstration against a reptile display that's to open tonight at Echo Point, Katoomba. He's accused Richard Wells, the snake man, of being part of a conspiracy of developers who are trying to use a reptile display at the tourist centre to promote their crocodile farm. Mr Wells rejects the allegation, along with further claims that an ABC television camera crew has been brought in to shore up his image as a quasi-conservationist.
Where was?
Nothing.
You got some rocks under there somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking at them and comparing what I think they look like. As I said, we have no involvement with the crocodile farm, as they prefer to call it, and it's really not a crocodile farm that Peter is trying to promote. It's a fauna park. And I don't want to discuss his project at all. I mean, that's his problem. Our problems are completely separate.
Well, my name's Will Silk, and I represent the Bullaburra Residents Action Group, or BRAG.
I'm involved with a group called Mountain Residents for Animal Rights, and we're promoting animal rights issues on the mountains.
I'm from CORE, which is Coalition of Residents for the Environment, and BRAG too, which is Bullaburra Residents Action, so I'm involved in Residents Action.
The rat bag started on this about 18 months ago, and they haven't given up, really. But we were involved with trying to set up a fauna park as early as 1978. We never had any problems like this. Admittedly, we weren't trying to put it in the Blue Mountains, you know. Try and put it up here, you might as well try and put it in a brothel or a nuclear reactor. You know, I mean, the reaction is just outrageous. Residents campaign against flora and fauna park. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Look, there's nothing cheap about our crocodiles. Opposition to flora and fauna park. In case of fire, please grab a crocodile. Objectors take over Blue Mountains Council. And it goes on. Wool sucked, turfed out of auction. He's the major activist up here. And it goes on. There's over 250 articles that I've found. And there's more. They're in national papers, and they've even made the international press as well.
Oh, here it is.
Yes.
See that one over the stump there, Jesse? Hiding inside? Look, what about up here, on the rocks? Look over here, on the rocks, that one up there.
Okay, people, let's go.
If you're close to the glass, he might come towards you because we worked about 44 hours non-stop to make sure that it's open for today. And I think it's turned out all right, given the amount of time that we had. We were on deadlines. You know, we've got to take advantage of the peak tourist season. So it's turned out, I think, okay. I would have liked to have done some things a little differently, but we can always improve.
Well, Richard's well known in conservation areas, and I believe he's done a beautiful effort in presenting the natural habitat and showing reptiles in a form that local people and visitors can actually see. As I said earlier, I had lost 2 dogs very short time ago by a death adder, that is the only way that people will see a death adder, as in that display in there, because you can't see them in real life.
Don't be bothered by the media. The only thing that you need to worry about is make sure you're in front of the cameras at all times.
Oh, the old mate, please. Get into some sort of a group as we're talking, right? Not
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Look, I've had this.
Where's the snake? Where's the snake?
You're supposed to be taking a photo, you bloke.
I'm for silent pressure. Presumably any disruption would be of a limited duration, and so a point is made succinctly and peacefully, and then that's that.
I here declare this open and hope it every success.
What'll help kill the earth? The Croc Park, what'll help kill the earth? The Bod Hill Park.
Why are we so concerned that we'll come out on a foggy night like this and take part in a pretty seedy little PR exercise such as this? I ask you to think to yourself also why the TV cameras are here tonight. Is it just a coincidence that they're doing a biography of Richard Wells? They tell me that Richard suggested himself as a subject for this biography. Well, maybe some of us should have suggested ourselves too and given them quite a cast of characters to do documentaries of. But significantly, it's being done on Richard. How very handy for his public image, which needs to be built up in a positive sort of way. Well, think about those issues. This issue is not a dead crop. Round about now, the developers we know are organising their strategies to move into the next stage if they get the go-ahead with the rezoning. And
that is not correct. So why does he keep saying it?
In many ways, jeopardising.
I could just go over and I could just hammer him. You know, it's unbelievable.
Peter Quirsh just said, because he doesn't know, but he just said...
I think you should disclaim it.
He just said that this is connected, he said undoubtedly this is probably connected with what he... Yeah, but he doesn't know about us. So, do you want Ralph to just make that point clear?
Yeah, make that view. I'm only too happy to say we have no association, we are supporters of it. We're interested in seeing it go ahead for its own sake, but we are not co-developers of that, and nor have we ever been. We originally helped him in the initial application.
Smash this light.
Being used to further the interests of private developers, and you know that they've got interests coming up pretty well soon, Ralph. Why has this been allowed?
Well, Mr. Silk, you know very well that this is a fundraising effort by the Blue Mountains Tourism Authority to help it run the authority in a proper manner.
It's a kickback from developers.
Well, unfortunately, you have very particular views, and you've run this organisation here today exactly the same as you ran the council chamber. Concerned individuals. Fortunately, I represent 67,000 people in
You better start representing us. We're some of those 67,000.
You've never listened to the residents in all this debate.
You've actually voted against the status quo, against residents' input.
Can we ask you why you support the Crocodile Park?
The who?
Can we ask you
I don't know
why?
anything about a crocodile park. I understand there's a flora and fauna park. It's going to be built at Boddington Hill.
A fast food reserve.
That's your thing. I hope it will be every bit as educational as this little display.
It cannot be educational. How does it teach respect for life, Ralph?
How does it change children's attitudes when they see that park?
Well,
Tell me how it does.
Are we talking about
I'm a teacher. I know. I've had a lot of years' experience. Tell me how this park is going to transform kids to go out and really care about the earth and respect all life.
Well,
how is it going to do it?
Let me answer your question.
Yes?
Well, about a month ago, I lost 2 dogs to a death adder. There's a death adder in that display in there, and I believe people, unless they actually see the sort of reptiles that are in the natural area, most which they'll never see in their whole life, cannot appreciate it. This is an excellent, well-maintained display, which will be extremely educational.
Yeah, here come the snakes.
You won't hear the speeches.
The Croc Park,
Make sure it's spelled correctly. Croc Park protesters storm reptile display. The Flora and Fauna Park battle flared last week when about 30 protesters disrupted the opening of a reptile display organised by 2 former associates of the park. The protesters, led by Bullaborough Residents Action Group spokesman Mr Will Suck, converged on the Echo Point information display and claimed the display was an elaborate public relations exercise. What a load of rubbish. Oh, g'day. More hate mail? Yeah. See you later. Although I wouldn't normally speak of science and politics in the same conversation, I'd like to get a bit more interested in politics, and if I couldn't pursue an interest in science, then I'd put the microscope on the very problems that I face from a political point of view. I think politics would be fun, and I'd like to at least go down in a screaming heap, so to speak, raising a lot of issues that perhaps otherwise might never get raised. I don't know. And then maybe a few spots I'd like to go and live that are somewhat remote to the areas of Sydney and Melbourne, and I like rainforest. I like areas that are remote and quiet and peaceful. Well, there's still a few left anyway.